Chapter 11. Measuring Up to Expectation. 14th day of the 4th month, 698th year. Rat-a-tat-tat. Ilana heard the knock from the library and descended the stairs to answer the door. "Hello," she said, with a knowing smile, as she recognized the blonde ponytail. "Fretta, isn't it?" "Yes, I'm Fretta," she replied with surprise. "Dragatu has mentioned you," Ilana said. "Is he in?" "I'll check." "You can wait in the library if you want." Fretta beamed at the mention of the library. "I take it you like stories, scrolls, and books?" Ilana asked as she stepped to the side and ushered Fretta into the house. "Yes, my mother taught me to read. We have a few scrolls, and I've borrowed books from people who have them, but I don't have any of my own." "Well, feel free to borrow some of ours." "Really?" Fretta exclaimed excitedly. "That's very kind of you. Thank you." They reached the library, and Fretta gasped at all the scrolls, and especially at the books on the far right of the room. "I'll be right back," Ilana said, smiling at Fretta's open mouth and wide eyes. Fretta went straight to the books and managed to find one of her favorite stories. Dragatu arrived as she started to read. "Hi," he began, his hand twitching a little as he tried to mask how happy he was to see her. "I told you I'd see you again," Fretta said. "I take it your father doesn't know you're here." "Nope, he thinks I'm going hunting in the forests." "So you lied to him," Dragatu said, not worrying so much about the lie, but what Fretta's father would do if he found out where she was. "Well, no, actually, I didn't lie. I'm going to go to the forest, and you're going to come too." She gave him a wide grin. "What makes you think I'm coming too?" he said casually, still trying to mask his enthusiasm. "I know you came to see me at the ore pits." Dragatu's brow creased. "One of the people told father," Fretta explained. "So I know you wanted to see me." He wasn't happy. "I just wanted to make sure you were okay," Dragatu replied. "Well, as you can see, I'm better." She patted her ribs hard, like a drum. "So, are you going to come?" Dragatu rubbed the stubble on his chin. "I suppose it will be fun to go hunting, and the company won't be too bad." "The company will be great, and don't you forget it." I'll get my hunting gear," Dragatu replied, chuckling. "Do you think your mother would mind if I borrow this?" Fretta asked, glancing at the book. "I'm sure it would be fine." He noticed the book's cover. His face dropped. He hated romance stories. "Thanks," she said, looking at the book and smiling at it. Once Dragatu was ready, they said goodbye to Ilana and set off in the direction of the forests. They avoided the busy streets in case any of them knew her father. It was unlikely, but they had to be cautious. Conversation flowed as it had before, and Dragatu asked about her friends. "I don't really have many," she said with difficulty. "I go hunting a lot and have to work with father when I'm not hunting. I used to have loads, but as we grew older, it was clear I didn't fit in. I think it's because I can be a bit forward. I didn't like the same things. In the end, I stopped spending time with them." "I think I know what you mean," Dragatu said. "I'm lucky with the friends in my neighborhood, but they do just follow me a lot. Sometimes I wish I could find someone that didn't act that way. Someone that was more independent. You know what I mean?" "Yeah, I do," and she smiled at him softly. "Have you ever had a girlfriend, Dragatu?" No, I haven't." She caught him off guard, and he paused, took a deep breath, and decided to be honest. "Guess I've not found anyone I wanted to have as a girlfriend." "Have you ever had a boyfriend?" She hesitated and looked at the floor. "Yes, one. But I'd rather not talk about it, if that's okay." Dragatu wondered why she had asked him, and then suddenly didn't want to talk about it. He could see the pain in her face, so he decided to change the subject. So what do you think your father will do to us if he finds out we're spending time together?" "Us?" She laughed, obviously grateful for the change. "It's you who should be worried. He still sees me as his little girl." "Oh, great. Thanks for that." He laughed as confidently as he could, but the thought of facing Jolinus did worry him a little. The rest of the walk was spent walking peacefully, the silence easy and comfortable. When they reached the forest, they organized their gear for hunting. "I think I have a way to solve our problem with my father," Fretta said, stringing her bow. "Really? That's a relief. I'm struggling to throw ideas. What's your plan?" Fretta continued to kneel while she finished stringing her bow. Then she began to explain as she put it to the side and stood up. I think you have to gain his respect. You need to show him you're a good person. He has a very negative view towards the richer people, which you know I struggle with too. But his feelings are worse. He says the rich people are lazy. Dragati's face tightened, but he refrained from retorting. If you prove him wrong, he will have to accept you. Then he will respect you and let us see each other, I hope. How do I prove it to him? Dragati asked. You know I already do a lot. Surely that should be enough. She paused and shrugged her shoulders. I don't know yet, she said gingerly. He also thinks people in the rich areas do just enough good not to feel guilty for not helping the poor become equal. Dragati snorted at the accusation, but once again let her continue. I guess you could show him it's not true. You could go to the ore pits, close to where I live, and mine a lot. Then do as you have in the western parts and give it to the people. He'll see that you don't care for it, and that you're simply there to help. If you stay for a long time, he'll see how hard-working and generous you are. How long do you think it will take? Dragati asked. She hesitated. I'm not sure. Dragati sighed, but made up his mind. The idea could work. If it does, we'll get to see each other whenever we want. It will be worth the effort. We can sort out the specific plans after hunting, Freta replied after a brief pause. Sounds good to me, Dragati agreed, as he bent and lifted his pack. It was a fun few days, and in between hunts they played games. Eventually, they had enough meat, so reluctantly made their way home, discussing the ore mining planning on the way. Once they reached Dragati's house, they said goodbye. Freta wished him success at the ore pits, knowing it would be too risky to visit him. He was sad to see her go, but focused on the task ahead, hoping when it was over, he would be able to see her without worrying about Jolinus. 21st day of the 4th month, 698th year. Chink, 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 thud, thud, thud. Dragati woke to the repetitive sounds. Even though it was early, the miners had already begun their day's work. Once he had eaten breakfast, he took out his spade and pickaxe and began digging. Only a short time passed before someone came up to him. What are you doing here? The man asked. I've come to mine, Dragati replied. I want to give what I find to you and the people here. My name's Dragati, he said, waiting for a polite reply, and to learn the man's name. Neither came. Typical, the man sneered instead. You do realize you can't mine here. He saw the confusion on Dragati's face. This is someone else's spot. More people stopped their work and watched. I can dig where I want, Dragati said defensively. Such arrogance and ignorance, the man muttered before speaking clearly. You'll have to go north and find a new spot. This area belongs to someone else. Dragati held back his anger and confusion. I've never been told this before. I always dig where I want. The man laughed and shook his head. Dragati was losing patience, but Jolinus would hear about this, so he held back his frustration. The man stopped laughing. I'm sure people have let you do what you wanted because you were with your friends. No one wants to create trouble, but it's time you knew the truth. You'll have to find your own place to dig. Someone should have told me this from the start, Dragati protested. I don't see what the problem is anyway. I've always given most of what I find to the other people. You should be glad I come here. The man laughed again, and a few of the onlookers laughed as well. Why do you laugh at someone who tries to help you? Help us, the man said with a sneer. Don't lie to yourself. You only come here to make yourself feel better. Dragati recalled that Jolinus felt this way, and saw it was a common feeling the people had here. He realized he had to be careful, or Freta's plan could be ruined. With great effort, Dragati swallowed his pride. I will go north then. The people were surprised to see him go, but after the initial shock, they mocked him with smirks and sarcastic wishes of good luck. Dragati didn't understand it until he was further north and saw how dry and hard the soil was. This was going to be a lot harder than he had originally thought. There wasn't a person for about a mile in all directions, and he felt very alone. Sighing, he made a small camp and decided there was no time like the present. He set out 3 separate square areas and began to remove the top layers of hard earth. The goal was to find clay and take it back for the people. There were also some big rocks around that he could break with his pickaxe, and perhaps find some precious stones. He wasn't optimistic about his plan, but he had to try. 27th day, the 4th month, 698th year. The first pit was dug about a metre down, and Dragatu ate from the effort. Once he found some clay, he would spend a day carrying it to the people in the sacks that he had brought. His plans, however, were shattered. After digging for another 2 days, he only found moist soil and no clay. He took advantage of the moisture, though, and dug a little deeper, making a small well. Another 3 days of back-breaking work had passed before Dragatu decided to take a break. He walked to the wells to enjoy the better quality and quantity of water they provided. He was covered in mud and dirt, and the people laughed, jeered, and pointed at him. Dragatu ignored them, went right up to a well, drew a bucketful, and tipped it over his head. It was as much an act of defiance as it was to get clean and refreshed. He drenched himself a couple more times, held his head high, and walked back to his camp. The people didn't snigger at him that time, but began to wonder why he was going back when he could easily go home. As the camp came into sight, Dragatu saw someone sitting there. It was Freta. He lowered his head, grinning with gratitude for the pleasant surprise. When he was close, he called out to her, "I thought you were staying away while I was here." "That was so people didn't see me. When I heard you were here, I decided it wouldn't be a risk. So here I am." "Always the rule breaker," Dragatu said with a chuckle. "Hardly," she replied. "How's the work going?" "Oh, easy," he joked. "It looks it," she replied in the same jovial manner. "I've shown the people that I'm not going to quit," Dragatu said. "Now I just need to find something to take to them. I would help, but if I get dirty, Father will suspect something. I'm sure he knows you're here by now." "Well, if he knows I'm here working hard, then that's a good start. We'll show him I'm not the bad person he thinks I am." The conversation continued, and when it was time for Freta to leave, Dragatu asked her to come back in a few days. 5th day of the 5th month, 698th year. Freta visited a couple more times, and it helped Dragatu to stay motivated. He finished the second pit, and to his relief there was some clay. He took it to the wells and left it there for anyone who wanted it. No one mocked him. They were finally seeing there was more to him than they had originally thought. Dragatu sensed it and smiled it to himself as he left. He rested for another day and then started work on the rocks, chipping away at them with his pickaxe. To his surprise and joy, he found little red stones, and once they were polished, they looked beautiful. He decided to keep breaking the rocks, hoping to find more. The stones were something he hadn't seen before. Green inlaid and blue hutire gems were common, and there were also the dark yellow rocks that served as ornaments. These vibrant red stones were new. The rich people would love them, and Dragatu began to wonder if these stones were the key to gaining Jonas's respect. He continued to collect them and formulated a plan. The day before he was going to implement the plan, Freta came to visit. She was hypnotized by how beautiful the stones were. She held one to the sun, and it gleamed in the light like a glass rosa petal. They agreed on the plan and began fantasizing about all the different adventures they would go on once it worked. 6th day of the 5th month, 698th year. "And what is that?" an onlooker said. Dragatu sat with his back to the well, throwing a pebble-sized red stone up and down in the air, looking very smug. The people hadn't noticed it at first, trying to ignore him. As they saw the sun reflecting off the strange stone, a few came to investigate. They walked closer, pretending they weren't trying to see it, but they couldn't help being mesmerized by its deep, majestic color. Finally, a man came forward to ask about the stone. Dragatu ignored him at first, so the man repeated himself. "What is that?" Dragatu took his time, but then looked up. "What, this?" he said, as if it were merely a common stone. He held it to the sun between his fingers and thumb, and it shined in all its glory. "Oh, it's something I found when mining rocks. You want to see it?" The man nodded with covetous eyes. Dragatu casually threw it from where he sat, throwing it underarm in a high arch. The man caught it and studied it, letting out sounds of awe as he rotated it on his palm and then held it up to the light. "There are quite a lot more," Dragatu said. The man looked down, eyes wide as Dragatu opened his pack, showing all the stones he had found. The man's jaw dropped. People walking by gasped, jealousy clear in their eyes and faces. Coming to his senses, the man reluctantly went to give the stone back to Dragatu. "I don't need it," Dragatu said, holding it up his hand. "You can keep it." The man was shocked. He didn't know what to say, and stood there with his arm half stretched out. Dragatu repeated himself. Take it. I want you to have it. Why are you giving it to me? The man asked, as his surprise faded. I have my reasons, Dragatu said. You see all these stones? He continued, looking at the bag. I want you to give one to everyone who lives here. If anyone asks where they came from, I want you to say it came from a new place of land that I, Dragatu, own. Lastly, I have a request. Do not give one to Jolanus. Do you know who I mean? He lives east of here, about a mile or two away. The man nodded. Good. Do you promise to do all as I've asked? The man nodded again, shock holding his tongue. Dragatu had just given away a fortune to complete strangers. Moreover, to people who had shown him no kindness. Yes, I promise I will. The man finally managed to stutter. Thank you, Dragatu replied. He stood up with the bag, gave it to the man, and simply walked away. He saw the people run to the man to get the full story, and heard the shouts of amazement. At that moment, Dragatu knew the plan was one step closer to working.